this has to be a nightmare. Like there's no way that I thought that this was going to happen. And the crazy thing is, like, they're still going to be fine. Like, I have every expectation that within the next like 4 or 5 years, they'll have another really good team. They'll be out from under Hayward's contract. As long as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown end up actually being really good, they should be fine. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over some of my predictions for some of the biggest free agents across the entire NBA this summer. Because believe it or not, we're less than a week away from the official start of free agency, and it's going to be really interesting to see where a lot of these different players go, and I just want to give my opinion and some predictions. But before the video actually gets started, do me a favor, go down in the comment section below and let me know where you guys think some of the biggest free agents are going to end up signing. But with that said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start off with a relatively easy one, and that is Klay Thompson. Now, there have been some rumblings and some reports and some rumors recently about the LA Clippers potentially being an option for Klay Thompson. In the past, it's been the LA Lakers, but I don't really think they're going to have enough money to sign him. But in the end, all the rumors about Klay Thompson that aren't involving the Warriors, all these other teams that could potentially sign him, it always begins with if the Warriors don't offer a max contract to Klay Thompson. And with the threat of Kevin Durant potentially leaving this offseason, I don't see any way that the Warriors don't offer Klay a max. And if they do offer it to him, like I believe that they will, he's going to end up staying in Golden State. So I'm going to go ahead and put those rumors to rest, at least in my own head, because I really don't think there's any way that he goes anywhere other than Golden State this summer. Next up is a player that I talked about a little bit in the Charlotte Hornets What's Next video, and that is Kemba Walker. And the biggest thing that Charlotte has going for it in this situation is that they can offer the most years and the most money, and I think ultimately that's going to be the biggest factor in them trying to bring Kemba back. Now, I don't think that they're going to offer him the full supermax, but they can still offer more years and more money than any other team. And if they throw something at him right around that 5-year, $190 million max, I think that's going to be enough to convince him to stay, despite the fact that there are a lot of other teams interested in his services in free agency. Now, if Charlotte does try and lowball him and go less than 5 years or $190 million, I think there are certainly some other teams that could make this interesting, like New York, like Boston, like Dallas. But ultimately, with a player like Kemba that's been relatively underpaid for the last 4 seasons, about $12 million a year, I think he's really going to be looking for the long-term security and the bigger money that Charlotte can offer in this situation. And I think that's going to be their main tool to end up bringing him back. So in the end, I do think they'll throw him a big max contract offer. It's a city that he's comfortable in. It's a franchise that he's comfortable with. And despite the team not being very good, that contract is going to convince him to stay. And I think he's going to end up on the Hornets next year. And now we get to one of the more interesting scenarios in the entire offseason for me personally, and that is the package deal of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And you can call me a homer if you want, but in my opinion, I think both of these players are going to end up signing with the Brooklyn Nets this offseason. And I understand that maybe that opinion doesn't mean that much to you guys because I am a Nets fan, but I promise you, regardless of my fandom, this would still be my prediction, even if I wasn't a Nets fan. The Nets are now the betting favorite to sign both of these players. They have the 2 max spaces to be able to make it work. They have complementary players around these 2 guys to build up what will end up being a super team if they both sign. And it's been reported for weeks that Kyrie specifically is extremely likely to sign in Brooklyn. So the more up in the air part is whether or not he's bringing KD with him. Now, I do recognize that there's every possibility that Durant decides to go maybe with the Warriors or the Clippers or the Knicks, and that could potentially affect Kyrie's willingness to go to Brooklyn if KD's not coming with him, or potentially the Nets' willingness to say, hey, I don't really know if we want Kyrie as a solo act if he's not bringing KD. I understand that all of those are possibilities. All of the momentum in this situation seems to point to both Kyrie and KD signing with Brooklyn. It's a great place to play. They have a smart front office and coaching staff, and as I mentioned earlier, they have the complementary players that should fit well alongside stars like Kyrie and like KD and make this an extremely competitive team. And honestly, I completely understand if you guys doubt me or hate on me for saying this and for having this as my prediction because I am a Nets fan, but I'm not going to let that change what I truly think will happen as a prediction that Kyrie and Kevin Durant are going to end up signing with the Brooklyn Nets within about a week or so. Next up now is Jimmy Butler, and this one makes me a little bit nervous just because he has proven to be such an unpredictable player and things could be completely different a few days from now, but I personally think that he is going to end up staying in Philadelphia and re-signing with the Sixers. Now, I understand that there have been some rumors lately about the Rockets potentially going after a sign and trade for Butler and convincing him that he should want to be in Houston rather than Philly and working out a sign and trade that way. But all those rumors seem to be kind of one-sided, that the Rockets are extremely interested in making that work, but maybe Jimmy Butler or the Sixers aren't all that interested in that possibility. And in the end, I think the Sixers are going to look at this situation and say, we were extremely close to potentially winning a championship this season. They lost to the eventual champion Toronto Raptors in Game 7 on the road on a buzzer beater by Kawhi Leonard. And obviously the circumstances of the finals and the injuries that the Warriors had are what they are. But I'm assuming that the Sixers are going to look at this situation and say, let's just run it back with this group. I understand that there's concerns about Jimmy Butler's age and his health and potentially how long this contract is going to be and how old he's going to be when it eventually runs out if they do sign him to the 5-year max. But with everything that's happening with this team, with the potential that they have to win a championship next year, the year after that, I just don't really think that that's an opportunity that they're going to be able to pass up and start being frugal suddenly and letting Jimmy Butler walk. So in my opinion, there's mutual interest between the Sixers and Jimmy Butler, and the best case scenario for both of them is that Butler ends up re-signing on a max contract with the 76ers. Next up now is someone in Al Horford that I really did not expect to cover in a video like this offseason. He had a player option for next season that I either expected him to opt into or opt out of and then re-sign with the Celtics on like a 3-year deal with maybe $20 to $25 million a year. But instead, after he opted out, within a few hours even, talks with the Celtics broke down because apparently there is some mystery team that is willing to offer a ton of money over a 4-year span to Al Horford in free agency this offseason. And he saw that opportunity and said, hey, maybe that's my best option. The problem is we don't really know exactly which team that is that ended up letting him know that they have this big offer on the table for him. But in my opinion, I think it's the Dallas Mavericks, because if you look at their situation, their cap situation, apparently they're going to re-sign Kristaps Porzingis to a rookie extension, a rookie max extension when free agency opens. And after they do that, they're going to have right around the right amount of money, almost $30 million in cap space left over to sign Horford to the deal that has been reported. And it makes sense for them situationally as well, because they want a 5-man that's going to play next to Porzingis, allow him to play the 4, reduce the punishment on his body in terms of not playing the 5 full time, especially recovering from injury, and also a guy in Horford that provides a lot of mentorship and veteran leadership to these two young players in Porzingis and Luka Doncic as well, in addition to being really good on the court and an extremely good glue guy. Now, you can question maybe the long-term impacts of this contract and whether Horford's going to be worth that much money on an annual basis 2 years from now on a 4-year deal. But when you look at everything in terms of context, in terms of salary, in terms of the deal reported, the Mavericks, in my opinion, make the most sense among all of those factors. So I think he's going to end up signing there. And last up now is Kawhi Leonard. And I touched on this in the Raptors What's Next video, but I think it's worth revisiting. In my opinion, I do still think that he's going to end up leaving the Raptors and signing with the LA Clippers this offseason, because the one consistent thing throughout this entire process, when he requested a trade from San Antonio and throughout the entire season, anytime there's been a rumor about Kawhi Leonard, it's been one of the LA teams, and now more specifically the Clippers, because the Lakers aren't really in the running. So it's pretty clear it's between those two teams, the Clippers and the Raptors. And I just think that Kawhi really wants to play in LA, and that's what it comes down to, because both of these teams have really great situations to offer to him. The Clippers have 2 max spots, or at least the ability to create 2 max slots this offseason in addition to some young talent. The Raptors just won a championship. They have a good mix of both veteran and young talent. They could have max cap space in 2020, even after re-signing Kawhi to a max, if that's something that he wanted to do. But I just think that the only thing that the Clippers have over the Raptors is the fact that they're in LA, and that's something that Kawhi wants to experience. He wants to live in LA, he wants to live closer to his hometown, and that is just a consistent desire for him throughout this entire process. And that's really the only reason that I believe that he's going to end up with the Clippers. Now, one other intriguing possibility here is that Kawhi potentially signs a 1-and-1, a 1 year plus a player option for the next year with the Raptors, and then goes into free agency in 2020 and then tries it again after trying to win a championship for one more season again in Toronto and then doing free agency again in 2020. But in my opinion, again, just his desire to play in LA will continue to push him towards the Clippers, and I think that is going to be where Kawhi Leonard ends up signing. And there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching and for letting me know what some of your predictions are in the comment section down below. Now, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about some other free agents, not just the big name guys that could have a huge impact on the entire NBA as a whole. So be sure to check that out when it comes out tomorrow. But once again, my name is Tucker. I thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.